12 Weeks of Christmas Empowerment Podcast at Team Beauty Official. We are now in episode 9 of our 12-week series. This is the final week of November. So happy post-Thanksgiving to all of you. We truly hope that you had an amazing Thanksgiving with your family, with friends, that you ate good, and that you're ready to reset your week and get a powerful end of November and beginning of December started. We're truly so blessed to have been able to share with so many different people, so many stories along these last 8 weeks of our empowerment series. And this one is no different. We get to be on Zoom today during this podcast, sharing with somebody all the way from Orlando, Florida, someone that I love and care about so much. Of course, I say that about everyone because if I'm inviting you to be a guest on my podcast, I love and care about you so much. And, I have seen this woman bloom and flourish and, truly become this woman that she is today over the last couple years. And so, Andrea Cobos, how are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Jerry, for that introduction. I wish I was over there, but we have Zoom. So I'm actually really excited. I'm nervous, but excited because, mental health is such a big topic, nowadays, and everyone is coming out with their stories and how you can help and like how people have overcome it. So I feel like it's, an important topic to talk about.
That's right. And so Andrea said it. Today's topic is going to be focused on this thing, right, called mental health. But before we dive into it, Andrea, so all of our listeners can get to know you a little more. Why don't you share with us, how this relationship came about, how this journey found you, and then we'll get right into it.
All right. So I started this about, I started Herbalife, around like 8, almost 9 years ago. Like it's going to be 9 years soon. And I didn't find it. It basically found me. I was born, I'm the youngest. So like I was born into a family of like, let's say I have like 9 siblings, like all overall. And so I am the youngest. So there was this like, pressure of like, my brothers and sisters didn't go to school, like they didn't finish college, they didn't graduate, like all this stuff. And so they looked at me like, you're the hope, right? Like you can do it, So I kind of like, once you graduate, you're like, okay, what am I doing next, right? So I kind of went into college, trying to think of like, okay, let me see, what can I do that will make my parents proud, right? Like I had like a really emotionally absent father. So I feel like I grew up always trying to like prove myself and wanting to, be for him to be proud of me. And so I think that that pushed me towards, I got to go to college. I got to do this, because he's probably looking at me to be like this one daughter that he can be like, I'm so proud of you, right? Because he's not that emotionally present where he can say like, I love you, or he can express himself and stuff like that. So I grew up like that. And, once I was in that process of like going to college and all of this, I was doing it for them, not for myself. So it was going down the lane of like being on autopilot more than like living my own life and looking for something that I love to do. So then, I was working full time. I was going to school full time to be a psychologist because I wanted to help people. I wanted to understand people. I wanted to understand myself, And so I'm real big on like analyzing people. And, then I started getting into like fitness and health, but, my nutrition was like really bad because I was always on the go. I didn't have time to like eat a lot of healthy food. So I struggled with it, right? And then I saw this like social media started to boom, and Herbalife came about on social media, and I just kept seeing like these moms on Herbalife. I mean, at the time I was 21 years old, and I was like, how do these moms have abs? And I'm 21 and I don't have abs at all. Like, so to me, it's like, there's gotta be something in these products. Like, I need to try it. And it's no magic formula, but we are the number one nutrition company in the world. So to me, it
Yeah.
was like a no-brainer. Let me get on these products, right? And so I got amazing results. Like, I loved how I was feeling. My energy was through the roof. And, then came about like the opportunity of helping other people do what I was already doing with the products, like getting results. And so I was like, offered this opportunity where they were like, do you want to make money while helping others do what you're already doing? And to me, it was like, whoa, like that seems like simple enough, right? And like what we call on social media now, social selling, right? Like we do it all the time. We're always sharing like what we love and the things that we use. And people are like, oh my God, where'd you get this? Where'd you get that? And it's like most of the time people do it for free and they don't get anything out of it, right? But in this opportunity, we actually get to like share what we love and make income through it and help other people. And so, it's a crazy story because like to me, like figuring out that this opportunity was something that I really wanted, but then not knowing like, do I stay in college or do I go for this? Right. Like, so
Yeah.
fast forward, I was like, you know what? I went to an event, where it showed me what this was all about, this movement. And I was like, I'm sold. Like, this is what I want to do. I'm happy here. I get to work on on my mentality, on my mindset. I get to work on my body. I get to help other people, which is what I was going to college for. And I mean, the possibilities are endless on where I can end up and like how much income I can make in my lifestyle, right? And so I was like, okay, I quit school. I didn't tell my parents. I was still telling them I was going to school, like classes. And I was like, oh yeah, classes are going great.
Oh
But
my gosh, you did
yes,
not.
but I quit and I wasn't going, and I didn't tell them until like 3 months later. And then I quit my job and I was like, I'm doing this full force. Like, I was living in New York at the time, and then I drove 27 hours to move to Texas. To me, that's where I met Jerry, right? Like, that's where we
Yeah. You didn't try for me though.
I mean, let's just say I just drove 27 hours to find a new opportunity, okay?
Okay, okay.
And then I had, the privilege of meeting her, and she literally took me under her wing and like, made me basically help me become who I am today because, I owe you a lot, right? And so I'm really thankful for that, and I'm grateful that I met you, and I'm grateful that you're a part of my life. And that's when Team Beauty started. And it was like, I was doing it on social media, right? Because I was living there, but I was like a little further out. I was like an hour away from you, I think, at the
Yes.
time.
Hmm.
So, this women empowerment, like this, everything that you created was like, this is genius, right? Like, people want and they look for a team, a group, something to be a part of, and like not feel so alone, right? Because we're always like so alone, and especially when you're on social media and you're like looking at all these girls and like they all have stuff going on, and you want to feel like you're a part of something bigger. So I guess like that's when we met and like how this all came about, and how I started helping other women. And I think that that's what helped me basically be who I am, right? Like become who I am. And I think I'm still in that process of, life is a journey and life is a process. And, you're currently evolving all the time, like every single time there, once you get to one new level, you unlock a new one, right? And you're always constantly going forward and forward and forward. And so, that's where I think mental health is really important because going into that topic already,
Yeah.
it's it's something that everyone talks about nowadays. Like, and I think the first thing is that for me, it has to do like mental health really strengthen my faith, right? And I really want to talk about that and put emphasis in that because I truly believe that I can't do life without God. I can't do life without faith. And and I remember, having my son, my first son. So I have two
Mhm,
boys, right? I have two
mhm.
boys, a 6-year-old and my 2-year-old. And so if you're a mom and you're listening, like, mom life is hard, and especially when you go from no kids to one kid and you're just like in shock, right? And
What
you're
happened here? What happened here?
Yes, exactly. And just it was unexpected. It wasn't something planned, right? So like that makes it even a little bit harder. To me, seeing my body, change. That was the first thing. That was
Yeah.
so, I didn't even have words. Like, it was hard for me. And then, becoming a new mom, being alone in a different state where I didn't have family, where, I had you guys, but everyone has their own lives, right? And so like it's like you also have to be able to stand up for yourself and do things alone, and like, like there's not really a village behind you when your kids are growing up. I mean, I'm sure like you can understand, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, girl. You think that everyone's gonna be at your house helping you change diapers,
Yes.
making sure that the house is not a mess. That way you can be mentally stable,
Yes.
breastfeeding your child. I mean, even me, my pregnancy was planned. Like it's like we knew we wanted to get pregnant, but you do have this new mom illusion that for me, I thought mom and suegra were gonna come running in my house
Right.
to take care of me. That way, like on this new what is it, chapter, that I could be okay. And it was like the
Yeah.
baby was born and it's like you're alone. You are alone.
Mhm.
Figure it out, girl.
Exactly. And I mean, I am grateful because I did have a great mother-in-law, like at that time. Like she was pretty like present all the time, but she's not my mom, so it's
Yeah.
different. It's different. But I am grateful for her because she was like there whenever I did need someone. And I am also grateful for you guys because I know, like, you're always keeping up with me. Like, you were asking how I was doing, like, even when I didn't want to talk. And I think that's a big part. Like, when you go through like episodes of like being depressed and like you're like want to hide under a rock, and the last thing you want to do is talk to people. And like that's the number one thing you should be doing, right? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to, but you block everyone out. And I just remember like this breaking point I had where it was like my first time. I think my whole life I've pretty much struggled with my mental health, like my entire life. But the first time I really had like a really strong episode was after I had my first baby, and it was like postpartum depression. I mean, it was like obviously I was going through a lot, and my hormones were all over the place, and I literally felt like I wanted to die, right? Like I didn't want to be there no more, and it was hard for me. And you were there for me. And I just remember this time, like, when I just didn't know what else to do. And I remember Jerry came to our apartment, and she prayed over me, and she told me, you need to strengthen your faith with God. And I think that I want to emphasize here that pain is God's megaphone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sometimes he needs to throw certain obstacles in your life to be able to redirect you and show you, like, hey, I'm here. Like, you need to come back. Like, this is where you need to go, not this side. And so I'm forever grateful for that day that you came over, because after that, obviously I wasn't instantly cured, or like,
Yeah.
mental health doesn't work that way.
Instantly healed.
Yeah, like it doesn't work that way. And I
Yeah.
wish it would. Sometimes it does, like sometimes it does, but a lot of the times that's God's testimony for you, right? Like, sometimes it doesn't just go away like that. Sometimes it lingers on because he has a process to take you through, because you need to help other people that are going through the same thing. You need to have the compassion to understand other
Yes.
people who are going through that. And so even though I wasn't healed from that one moment, right, it did help me realize, like, hey, I need to redirect my life, and like, I need to change some things, and I need to do better, because if I want to get out of this, I am not depression. I struggle with depression, but I am not depression. And I think, like,
I'm gonna stop you there because this is so like so important, and hold that thought. Don't lose that. Okay. Because before we like go into this character part of the mental health, mental health, as soon as Andrea told me, like, this is, what I strongly feel passionate about right now, I was like, yes. And why did I say that? Because obviously I know Andrea's story, and I remember that day like it was, yesterday. And, when you think mental health, I mean, there's so many things to mental health. And Andrea, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but like people shove that word so much nowadays, and you see it
Yeah.
everywhere, on social media too.
Yeah.
So, bef- I want to share with you guys a little thing, because I kind of Googled, okay, mental health, and I want to share with you guys some stats. That way you understand, right? Because before Andrea goes into, not only labeling it and being it, and the difference is, like, check out this stat: around 1 in 5 women have a common mental health problem, such as depression and anxiety. While there can be many reasons why these develops, some risk factors affect many women, more women than men, because women tend to be the carers, which can lead to stress, anxiety, and, and isolation, which is everything that you just said, right? Another one that, I liked is like, it says, where is it? Here, mood and mental health. Why is female mental health important? I thought this was good too. It says, mood and mental health play an important role in many aspects of women's lives. They may affect relationships,
Mhm.
self-esteem, work performance, and even physical health.
Yeah.
Research shows possible connections between certain mental health conditions and physical alignments, such as heart disease and gastrointestinal issues.
Mhm.
Every year, 1 in 5 women in the United States has mental health problems, such as depression, post-traumatic stress disorder like PTSD,
Mhm.
or an eating disorder. I mean, in Team Beauty, we work a lot, right, on our fitness and health. But we go through that all the time, where you think you're fat and you're not, or,
Body
you think,
dysmorphia.
yeah.
Yes.
And so mental health, all in all, Andrea, is so important, especially, all of our listeners.
Yeah.
I want you to understand, right, that it's not like, oh, mental health, you're crazy or you're depressed,
Yeah.
right? One of the breakthroughs that I feel that day, that night, right? It was like 10 p.m., I think,
Mhm.
when I was at your house. And it was like I saw an Andrea who was constantly crying, constantly sad, constantly like in the hole, right? And it was like circumstances were happening to you at that moment, right? And it was like weeks and weeks and weeks. And so your friends, your family, people that love and care about you, and I want you as the listener, if you are going through something like this, to understand, right? Like, you are in that space, but people that love and care about you don't see you as that. They see
Mhm.
you as, who you truly are, right? They see you as, your personality, as what you've been, for example, for me, and most importantly, as the greatness. I would see you like just
Yeah.
with so much greatness, right? That, it doesn't really define you. And so I had to stop you before you went into that, because, you know, when people hear mental health, you probably could just be like, oh, well, I'm not crazy. I'm not,
Mhm.
going through that, or,
Yeah.
and so for you, Andrea, obviously we put God first all the time. I mean, that's my first, so for you in that moment, and obviously now, you said something so different, so important, which you said, pain is God's megaphone to
Yeah.
show you that, like, I'm here. Woohoo! Like, you don't have to go through that pain on your own and stay there. And so I think that's so, I'll let you talk now, but like, I think that's so powerful,
Yeah.
that you can think like, I have mental health issues. I have mental health issues. I have mental health issues. And like dig yourself in a hole because you believe that you have these mental health issues. And at the end of the day, for us, it's, but what are you, how are you cultivating out of that? You know, how do we, and so that goes into what you were about to say right now, because it's like there's a difference between saying I have mental health issues to being
Yeah,
mentally,
letting it,
like stuck there.
yeah, exactly, letting it define you. Like that's what happens when you go through, you learn about what's going on with your body. You go to a therapist and they diagnose you, and you're like, you have depression, or you have postpartum depression, or you have anxiety, or you have OCD, or whatever, you take that label and you let it define you, and you start staying stuck. And like you said, I was in that hole where like I was crying all the time. I was sad all the time. And it's because when you're sad, what's the first thing you do? If you're listening, you're guilty of this because all of us girls, like when we're sad or we go through a heartbreak, we put on sad music, heartbreak
I
music.
see.
And it's like, what are you doing, right? Like you're listening to this and you're absorbing this and you're allowing it to just fuel that negative label that you just put on yourself. So I think that one of the biggest
And you go
breakthroughs,
from being depressed to saying like I am
I am
depression.
depression. Yeah, like basically, you're basically telling you that's who you are. Like your personality doesn't exist without you having this label. And that's not who you are. And so I think that's one of my biggest breakthroughs with my mental health, that I had to literally separate what I was going through versus who I am. Like, I am not depression. You are not depression. You are not anxiety, right? You are this wonderful person, with a good heart, with good intentions, and you're struggling with something, but it doesn't mean that's who you are, right? Like, it's okay to not be okay,
Yes.
but it's not okay to allow yourself to stay there. And so I think that's like,
Mic drop, please, right now.
yes, I mean, I think like that's like the biggest thing that all of us have to realize, all of us that struggle with mental health. Like you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, right? Like, so I feel
Amen.
like that's where we have to redirect our energy, listen to different types of mindset podcasts, like this one, for example, or like, anything that brings you out of that hole that you're in. I know it's the last thing you want to do. Like when you're in those moments, you want to be in bed, crying, sleeping, like not talking to the world. And I know it takes so much for you to like take that step out of bed and like get ready and dress yourself up. It takes so much, strength, but it's the only thing that's going to help you, pray, like pray the first thing you do when you wake up, prayer, right? Start your day right. And then, move your body because movement creates energy. And I know like the other day I was like, oh my God, I don't want to work out. Like, I don't want to work out. I felt so horrible. Like all I want to do was cry, like especially when you're on your period. Like you don't have to have mental health to like go through periods, right? We all go through like those stages of when we're in our month and we want to cry, we're emotional. And I was feeling that way, and I went into the gym and I was like, I'm not going to do this for myself. I'm going to do it for him. I'm going to do it for God because I know He wants me to take care of my body. So at this moment, I'm detaching myself over my emotions and like letting go of how I feel and living for Him, right? Like being like, I'm going to do this for Him, not for myself. I don't care. I felt horrible, but I got it done. It wasn't the best workout, but I still got it done. And you know what? It still gave me a little sense of accomplishment as to like, you did it, right? You got through it. And
Yes.
so that's what happens. And not every day is going to be perfect. Like there's no such thing as perfection, right? We're not perfect. And so every day, what you need to do is like look at the brighter things, like look at the things that you did get through. And some days are going to be brighter than others, and other days are going to be a little bit more, they're going to be tougher, but you're going to see the light and you're going to get through them. And so, overall, I feel like being in Team Beauty, being in, this organization and this team and, with all of you, I feel like that's all you see, right? Like it's impossible for you to not want to be the best version of yourself, or at least like crave that, because what do you see? Empowerment. What do you see? People that have faith, what do you see? People who are moving their bodies, who are taking care of themselves, who work on their self love, who work on their self care. And like when you join like the chats, like with our clients and like coaches, even when you don't want to post or you don't want to read, or you still see it, and you see all these women like going after it. And it's like, why not me? Right? Like, why can't you be that? Like, instead of comparing or like being like, wow, she's like doing it and she got out of mental health, and like she, overcame depression. Like, you don't know her story. Maybe she gets up every morning and she struggles and it's hard, but she still does it, right? Because she has faith, she has empowerment, she has, that fellowship. And I think that that's really important, because God doesn't want you to be alone. He didn't create you to be alone. He created you for other people, for you to enjoy other people's companies, for you to, share your beliefs and your values and grow with other people. So, I think that it's like, get out of that zone, right? Like, that's my advice to you. Like, get out of that zone that you're in, get out of your head. And I know like it's easier said than done, but little steps, baby steps, start with whatever seems the easiest at the time. Doing a prayer in bed when you get up, like that is the one thing that will like immediately impact how you take on the day. And then listening to something that changes and improves your mindset. I mean, Jerry is like huge on personal development, Diego is huge on personal development, and they instilled this in us. I think the whole Herbalife community is amazing with that, with personal development. And I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't know about. Like, they try to do this alone and then they realize that they can't, right? And God.
And that's right there is big, Andrea. Like, we try and do things alone and then we realize we can't. And
Mhm.
why do you think that you try to do things alone? Right?
I
Why do you think people try to do things alone?
Sometimes I feel like it's because you're embarrassed, and you want to be independent, and you want to be like, no, I did it myself. Like, there's a lot of especially nowadays, there's a lot of like, oh, I'm Miss Independent, I'm
Self-made, self-made,
yeah,
self-made.
self-made. And it's like, yeah, but no. Like, yeah, but no. Like, you're not self-made, because at the end of the day, you got to believe in something. Like, you got to have faith in something, you got to hold on to something, and whatever that may be for you. And it's like, for me, it's obviously my faith in God. And he gave me this team of women, and like, he gave me you guys as friends, and people who I can rely on, to grow and be better and become better.
And evolve. I
Mhm.
think that's the space right there that we continue to learn to shift our way of thinking. The next level in our life, and breaking through mental health. If you're somebody right now that is listening and you're going through any of these, right? I just want you to listen to this again and rewrite it. What Andrea said is,
Yeah.
that mental health, whatever that is, depression, anxiety, label, okay, is does not define you.
So I I like took down this prayer, right, that I've been saying like every day. And I know we're gonna like wrap it up. So
Yeah.
I want to say like this prayer, and I want to read it to you guys, so that maybe you can take this with you, and every day that you wake up, you pray this prayer, and it can help you just have the strength to get up from bed. So it's, thank you, Jesus, that it is your joy that strengthens me and propels me into all that you have for me. Even on the days when I do not feel joy, I know that I have it because you promised it to me. I stand on your promises and not on my feelings. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Andrea, for that. And I think you should send it to me. That way we could put it down on the caption and we could have it on the description, and you guys can copy and paste it to your notes. You can have it by you if you feel that you need to continue praying that prayer. That was beautiful, right? And so, breakthrough, detachment, understanding the difference, and taking action comes through, holding yourself even the days that you don't want to, and knowing that there is a group of people, there is a God, right? There is something right out there that is waiting for you to simply say, like, I need help. I need help. Like, I can't do it alone. And that's one of the biggest things. I think that's the gift that God gave me, Andrea, with Team Beauty, was when I had just given birth to my son, my
Mhm.
firstborn, that I was depressed, that I was in a hole, that it wasn't like I was super sad or super crying, but it was like I wasn't motivated. I lacked
Lack
all of these
purpose.
things, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't, like, it was just like a blot. Like, I'm just here with my baby and
Mhm.
that's it, right? Like, I didn't really feel the urge to go out there and do anything. And,
Yeah.
it was truly this gift where God made me understand that I wasn't going to be able to do it by myself. And that's how Team Beauty was created. Like, I had to call up a couple of people and be like, hey, I want to lose some weight. Like, I need to get out of this funk that I'm in, and I can't do it alone. And I want you to help me. And through that, you know, seven crazy girls were able to be like, yes, yes, oh my God, right? And maybe they saw me somehow, saw some positivity. Maybe they looked up to me. Maybe they were inspired by me at some point, but they didn't know that personal struggle, right?
Mm.
That I had. And
Yeah.
so, if you're listening and you heard us all the way through, I just want to tell you that you can, right? Like, you can break through, but you won't be able to do it alone. Accept help, reach out for help, talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Talk about it, because at the end of the day, people aren't going to remember the hard stuff more than they're going to remember your victories. When you're there
Yeah.
with your hand raised, I mean, Andrea, just looking at you right now and seeing you speak so passionate, so powerfully, like, you wouldn't be able to do that if you wouldn't have had this breakthrough. And your story is the message to all of those women. And I'm going to get emotional, but it's your story to all of those women that, currently feel stuck,
Mhm.
currently, haven't healed, that they don't know what the next step is, or even understand, like, but how, right? And so, thank you for sharing, because, even though it was a glimpse, let me tell you that it's been a wild roller
Right.
coaster.
Yes. Yes, it has. I thank you for inviting me here. And I just want to let you guys know, now I'm a mom of two. I didn't go through postpartum depression again. I guess I learned from that, right?
Woo!
We
Yes.
do have our hard moments and like we do go through stuff and it's never gonna be perfect, like I said. But when you have that faith and you have that fellowship with women who empower each other, like you can constantly keep moving forward. And so that is my hope to you guys, that you can keep doing that and keep getting up and keep believing in yourselves.
All right. So, as we conclude episode 9, talking about mental health, Andrea, what would you say immediately after this podcast that she does to take some action in for this powerful week?
So I think obviously the first thing that I've already said is
The
the
prayer.
prayer.
Yes.
Like get up and pray, girl. And then 2, move your body. Like if you don't have anything that you can follow, like a workout plan or a structure, join us. Like join Team Beauty. Like join something that is going to motivate you to move your body. Because again, like I said, movement creates energy, and when you move your body, you're creating that sense of accomplishment. That taking care of your body, as in the foods that you eat, like eating healthy just impacts how you feel, your moods, everything. So that's a big component, because if you're just eating like whatever, you're not going to feel good, like overall you're just not going to. And then get some sunlight. I know I'm always at home, so I tried my best to like get some sun and go outside with my kids and like just enjoy like nature and like God's creation, because being stuck at home is not going to help you. Get ready. If you're at home all the time, if you're a stay-at-home mom, like dress up. Like I know it's annoying sometimes. I think the part I hate the most is like taking off my makeup. But when I put it on, it's like you feel good. You do your hair, you look pretty, your mood improves. Like I think that's a huge thing. Like don't let yourself go. Like and plan some dates. Like find friends, like people that you can hang out with and have play dates with if you're a mom, and just enjoy that time. I think like that's really key to being able to have a healthy overall life. You're just sharing with other people.
Love that, Andrea. Thank you so much for those action steps. And uh, we're wrapping up, December with the last challenge of the year, by the way, with our Little
Yeah.
Black Dress 21-day challenge. So, what an opportunity to start working on yourself, challenging yourself to wear a different kind of little black dress, whether it's something without sleeves, right? Something a little shorter, something a little fitter.
Yes.
Yes, a little tighter. And at the end, if you're somewhere around the region, we get to come together and have a girls' night and fellowship and, dance the night, just us
Yeah.
with no judgment. So, thank you, Andrea, so much for joining us, for giving us your time. I know that you brought so much value. Your message is powerful. And if you're listening and you found value in this podcast, I want you to tag us at Team Beauty Official. Tag Andrea, tag myself, share with us your takeaways. And of course, share it to your stories and continue sharing the gift of empowering other women. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.